Welcome to the Nuzlocke, the series where for every video I try to beat the entire franchise of Pokemon as a generation lock with no repeat Pokemon, one game at a time. Playlist on my channel with all previous episodes if you wish to catch up. It's not only a really good series to put on in the background, but it's also something fun to binge and lock into if you like goofy edits and wild plays. Of course, it's a long journey ahead of us, so I'm gonna get right into the fun stuff, so welcome back, or welcome if you're new. Consider subscribing because this is a lot of work to make. More than you'd actually think. But anyway, let's hop right into Saga 4, Leg 14, Pokemon Soul Silver. My college funds are running dry. Hope you enjoy. We welcome ourselves back to the Johto League and pick up our starter, Flora the Chikorita. We then pick up the absolutely goated team that survived last round. Ragnar Jr., Pollen II, Shenron Jr., Willis II, and Slicer X the 13th. This team saved us last leg, and I think it turned out to be the strongest one yet. We saved some solid encounters for this, and even added a pseudo-legendary. I truly thought this team would last us throughout at least Saga 4, as Platinum was full of deaths, more than any other leg before. I thought this leg would be minimal, maybe even 0 deaths until we reached the Unova region. I can't fake laugh. Boy was I wrong. But let's put that aside for now. We watched Lyra catch a Butterfree with her horsey, and then I had a little fun with the fact that our Pokemon can follow us around now. Hey man, Mecha Jason, if you want to Guys! Look! Oh my god, he's right by. Nah, chat. We gotta run through with every Pokemon real fast. Hold on. What? I love this feature so much. Why can't they bring this back, chat? Next in line, we got Pollen. Come on, Badoo. Oh, that's so cute. All the babies, bruh. Killer baby is too feckin' cute. Look at Magikarp. Bro, they didn't even try. They didn't even try to animate this one. No, we gotta get him to water. Get in the water. No water for you. Oh, that's actually cute. You love to see it. Look at this little Gibble. Finally, we gotta bring him back out. Gotta bring him out. Yes. All right, let's stock up on the Pokemon Center, and then let's continue our journey. After that, I actually didn't immediately fight the first badge of 16, since I figured since this video is going to have a fast pace because of having to cram all these badges like it's Saga 2, I wanted to check the runes of Alph out, where I found a puzzle that when shifted together looked just like Slicer X. It made me think about how allegedly Kabuto had been extinct since prehistoric times, way before humans, but perhaps this tablet suggests otherwise for our little buddy Slicer X's kind. We meet Jay the Unknown, and he's a man of few words, but he's pretty chill. We bully the residents of Sprout Tower for a little bit and watch as our rival Pedro has a bit of a meltdown. While our 4 newbies trained their forms at Sprout Tower under Slicer X, Willis learned a shocking move at just level 7. Dragon Rage, a move that always does 40 damage, the original Dragon-type move. Although unimpressive later on, this move meant Willis had successfully secured us the entirety of early game, as nothing had more than 40 HP, and if anything did, it definitely didn't have more than 80. We throw on Yonkers the Rattata as backup fodder and then just sweep with Dragon Rage. Soon after, we evolved Badoo into Roselia via friendship. You see, I'm a very hands-off trainer. I like to think I let my Pokemon do the battling themselves sometimes, as I'm of course too goated to make a bad play. So any bad decision made is actually my Pokemon's fault. And Slicer X was clearly doing a good job leading the team, as we had already had our first evolution, and like I said earlier, pretty much the first 4 badges secured. We travel through some forest, a cave, and fight some trainers along the way, but at the end of the day, Dragon Rage was simply too good for this world. We then do our heroic side quests of saving the Slowpoke, welcome to the squad Lobotomy, giving Kurt our balls, and capturing some delicious foie gras. We enter Bugsy's gym and he almost didn't recognize me from across his stupid puzzle, because last time I was here I was just holding up my Charmander at arm's length and letting her rip. However, Ragnar was hungry enough to do a sufficient job and ended up getting enough XP to evolve into Staravia. This time I asked very politely if he could just give us the badge to save some time, since I mean, come on, Intimidate, Wing Attack Staravia, and Dragon Rage Gibble? Look at me, sure. I am the gym leader now. However, Bugsy thinks he's Himothy, so we throw out Willis to kick him in the cocoons. He leads with Ace Scyther. It outspeeds us, but wastes its turn on a focus energy as we almost KO with Dragon Rage. It eats a berry, leers, and falls. Take a guess what happened next. Willis is then a good Samaritan to a shoddy left in the woods. We catch a wild grenade, a purple ape, and the woman of my dreams, and blow some money in the slots. Now was the time to put our team to the test. Whitney. Now, this gym battle would have been easy. Keyword, would've. But her level cap is 19, meaning no Gyarados, so I put Shenron away as well as Pollen. Pollen's reasoning was the bulk is horrible and I really didn't want to lose Toxic Spike's Leech Seed due to Whitney's cow shit. So to fill our 3 empty slots, I went with Sunkern, Pineco, and Ditto. Why would I ever do such a thing? Well, Ditto is pretty obvious, gotta fight fire with fire. But I chose the other two simply because I knew I wouldn't get much mileage out of either. Sunkern had a 55% chance to win us the battle with Grass Whistle, and Pineco knew self-destruct. I walk up to Whitney with my less than orthodox team and then spout this nonsense. I somewhat believe in our strategy. What do you think about this, Gibble? I lead with Willis and use Sandstorm to activate my ability Sandveil, as I did not want Clefairy's Metronome dropping something like a Blizzard on me and killing my pseudo in the making. Clefairy then used Mimic, stealing our Sandstorm. I was actually really glad she did this, as not only was it a waste of a turn, it was a sigh of relief, because if I had used Dragon Rage at any point in the battle and she mimics it, we would have been in a lot more trouble. We DR and Clefairy barely clings on, then uses Metronome Captivate, dropping our special attack 2 stages. Oh no. We get Whitney to waste a healing item and eventually KO with D-Rage spam. I switch out here to goals, not wanting to risk Willis just yet. I had to at least get Miltank in range before I could D-Rage. We get infatuated and go for Leech Seed. However, Miltank uses Stomp and crit Okos. Although, comparing stats, I can't really in good conscience say crit mattered. Grenade the Pineco is sent out, and after seeing what Miltank did to its best friend, and seeing what it could do to our team, Pineco made the brave decision to self-destruct in order to take it out. It's what goals would have wanted. But Miltank lived. Even more scared to send out my precious core 3 of Pokemon, I send out the last line of defense. Subject. While we set up, Miltank sucks its nipples. We lose the speed tie next turn and get stomped, but we start a rollout. We somehow went twice in a row, and then Miltank went twice in a row, and we flinch. I honestly don't know how that happened, so if someone in the comments know how we each just went twice in a row, please let me know. I Milk Drink, and after us both spamming Milk Drink and stomp on each other, like true Pokemon meta enthusiasts, we get flinched twice, and then lose the speed tie thrice in a row, stopping our final Milk Drink and killing Subject. I throw out Ragnar for Intimidate to lower stomp damage and wing attack, and things are looking up for us. But Whitney uses a Super Potion, walling Quick Attack. Next turn, we get outsped and crit one shot, killing Ragnar. Slicer X tries to go out next, but Willis steps out onto the field. She knows there's a much bigger chance of winning for her. She gets attracted, as well as almost killed with just one stomp, but breaks through and uses Sandstorm. We use our 1 healing item, break through Infatuation one more time, and secure badge 3. 4 deaths in 1 battle. Very close to 5. And Ragnar was dead. One of the diligent students of Slicer X. We put our fallen friends to rest, we take the night off, and in the morning, we reassess. I add Jack the Aipom to the team and temporarily replace Shenron for Flora. I then learn both Aipom and Flora are best left in the box until later levels so they can get access to better movesets. So I instead add Lobotomy the Slowpoke and Mecha the Bellsprout. I catch a Stantler named Prancer and replace Mecha. I make it to the 4th gym's town, but of course I can't do anything at all without the game reminding me I'm the main character, so I head into Burns Tower and, oh, look at that. 3 deities. With the sheer power emanating from the legendary dog, Shenron evolves. My rival Pedro of course gets jealous, thinks I'm hacking, and tries to smite me. But of course, Gyarados and Gible were too strong for him. Shenron proved himself a formidable match against the trainers in Morty's gym, being able to lower attack and KO by just eating them, really. Morty sends out Ghastly to test our prowess, and Shenron Okos. Gengar comes out immediately, and even though we had Gyarados, Gengar's terrifying stat distribution had me worried. We almost one-shot with Bite, but Gengar heals with a berry. Gengar throws out a lightning-fast Shadow Ball, doing big damage and getting the stat drop, but we pull through and KO. Haunter's out, and it's time to retire Shenron, so we bring out Prancer the Stantler, who gets immediately put to sleep. Haunter saps our HP turn by turn as Stantler fails us and forces us to switch into Willis, who is also put to sleep. I use my 1 healing item on Shenron as Haunter begins to feast again. We then use the opportunity of Haunter spamming Dream Eater to safely switch into Pollen, who sets a Leech Seed before succumbing to the Sandman himself. We send out our Wish Dragon and get our balls turned to stone by another Hypnosis. It takes a few turns, but we get lucky and wake up for the KO. The final Haunter used a mean look, trapping us as it prepares its ultimate revenge. And we one-shot. Badge 4 down. Friendly reminder, if you haven't subscribed yet, look at my numbers, bruh. I need you! This is gonna be my last year on YouTube if I can't get the foot out the door on monetization. You clearly liked the video. I got a whole ass playlist full of my other videos, and I also stream me playing these games where we have a whole lot of close calls and funny moments that don't quite make the cut into the final video. So go subscribe so I can continue to post and so you can continue to check out my awesome YouTube streams. Back to the video. Oh my god. Ugh. I do not want to deal with this! I evolve Flora into Bayleaf and go to face Great Value Crasher Wake. I don't know why I'm like 13 games into the Nuzlocke and I still don't check the wiki for everything, but I don't, because facing this random guy in his Hitmonchan, I realize this guy has Thunder, Ice, and Fire Punch. And looking at my team, literally all of them are weak to those moves, including 2 4x weaknesses. So it became a battle of wits. And in this battle of wits, I chose to eat crayons. I know I love to glaze myself now and again, but Jesus past Spizzles, how do you choose Leech Seed, heal stalling, and still pinch pennies on your healing items? Rip Pollen died to corporate greed. However, it was not all in vain, as we got the safe switch to Flora, who had enough bulk to set some delicious screens so Shenron could KO. Spizzle Rage was activated, and the gym leader of Hands was about to be put to the test. I jammed Slicer X in the bag and brought out Lobotomy, Prancer, and Mecha, who I evolved into Weepinbell. He sends out an angry monkey against my creature, and I set Reflect while Primeape leers. It was now Lobotomy's time to shine. We put up some curses while Primeape double teams and leers. We then allow Chuck to stack Spizz billion double teams, landing a single confusion exchange. We flinch on a rock slide, but Lady Luck tops me off, and we dodge the next rock slide and KO with another blow. Mickey P comes out, and thanks to our curses and lack of physical moves, we both do Wet Napkin Sandwich levels of damage. I then decide to go for the Intimidate, but Brody John John's AI gained sentience just to spite me, predicted the switch, and put me to sleep. Taking a risk, I go for the double Intimidate, getting paralyzed in the process. We switch back to Shenron as Poliwrath cranked up Focus Punch, but triple attack drop on resist doesn't really do much to us. It was only a matter of time before the Sword of Justice crashed down upon Chuck, relinquishing him of his badge, and granting us passage to the next obstacle. I'm better than you, Chuck. Little advice. Try adding another Pokemon next time, pal. I heard there's a Tyrogue in Mount Mortar. Don't let me catch you like this again, bub. I then head to the Pokemart to pick up deliveries sent by my mom, one of my favorite features of this generation. Because not only can you get choice items among other useful little gadgets and gizmos, you get berries. And I love berries in Pokemon, and I wish they got more use outside of Citrus and Lum, as they can be very useful in battle. One that comes to mind is the Rindo Berry, which halves the super effective damage of grass type attacks for 1 turn. I like to give this berry to Slicer X between gym battles to ensure if things go south, he can at least have a fighting chance. After fixing up Ampharos, we collect our tribute and stock up Kurt again. We journey into the mountains, beat up this guy, evolve Flora, and journey onwards to more storyline. Oh, bro. Alright, you and I both know you're not here for that, so, you know, we fight the Gyarados. Hey. Yo! And face off against Price. We set up Light Screen and it's Prancing time. The speed drop ain't enough for us, and we KO with Thunderbolt because Prancer learns that for some reason. And Piloswine is out, setting Hail. We misclick Thunderbolt. We then confuse Piloswine, go to Shenron, tank Blizzard, and start going for Dragon Rages. We use our one healing item, which was a Soda Pop because I thought this battle would be that easy, and they set Hail again. Knowing the heal is imminent, it was time for Lobotomy. We take huge damage just to get Yawn off and pray for Mud Bomb. Our prayers were answered. We get the immunity, and it's a pivot to Meganium for Light Screen. Piloswine wakes up, but we out-damage and now out-tank, and Dugong is finally outlast. I look at my team's HP, and it's looking like it's going to be a close shave. Speaking of close shave, this video was sponsored by Manscaped. Nah, I saw you about to skip 10 seconds, bro. You really thought my ass had a promotion? You really thought I had a promotional? You're goofy. Never skip my videos again, punk. I'm watching you. I'm watching you. When I get ads, you watch them, buddy. You watch them. If I ever get ads, you watch them. Do not skip ahead. Never let me Shenron tank some blows, getting Dugong low. Out of fear, I switch to Prancer. Price heals, and we take it out in a couple turns. Price then tells me I could overcome all of life's obstacles, and that I was worthy of his badge. So, I guess you could say the Price is right. Mecha and Willis find their way back on the squadron, and we face Jasmine. We OHKO her first Pokemon with ease, but Steelix put the fear of Arceus into me. We do a double Intimidate, and I then decide to go for a triple Intimidate. However, I was on a bulk at the time and had just finished consuming my 4th stick of butter that day, and with the slip of a keystroke, this happened. Just to be... Oh shit, that was a misclick. That was a misclick. I meant to throw out Stantler, bruh. I meant to throw out Stantler, bruh. I did not mean to click on Willis, bruh. That's dumb. That's dumb. That wasn't my play. Oh. It missed. No, Doopy, I will never take the L, Doopy. I will never take the L. After setting our third Intimidate, it's Flora's time to set Reflect and KO with some magical leaves. Magnemite was back out and was much more annoying than its predecessor. We had to switch into Mecha, and after a lot of Nothing Burger turns, we end up barely surviving and have to switch yet again to Willis, who finished the battle with a dig. God, I love Gyarados in the Garchomp line. We then had to beat up a Team Rocket admin, and although his team of testicles was irritating to fight, we got through unscathed. We begin to exit the premises, and of course this guy's #1 meat-riding fanboy, Trenton, intervenes and forces me into a battle. This guy proceeds to waste my time spamming his little recovers and his little conversion move, making him a fire type to resist my attacks. So I'm like, aight, let me whip it out for you. Shenron hits the field, and then this motherfucker. We were 6 badges deep and had only 2 members left from our golden team. That got us through platinum. What was different now? How was gold, silver, and crystal so easy, yet we couldn't stop losing members here? Was our team better back then? Was I? I ended stream there for the night and reflected on what got me to this point.
The birds are singing, the flowers are blooming, my dick is throbbing. What a beautiful day for
Playing the Spizzalock.
Good morning.
Rival.
I've been awake for 20 whole seconds and I haven't cooled.
Oh, hello, Rival. Useless turn. I forget Light Clay kind of ruins screens, or Light Clay kind of makes. What am I supposed to do against you? You're gonna just mean look whoever's in here and then just shadow ball them and curse and confuse Ray and be weird. I hate you. I hate you so much. It was time to rebuild our team. I needed type coverage, so that meant not repeating types on my team. So, after combing through the box, we got Sonic the Sandshrew, McCloud the Vulpix, and Janine the Venonat. We evolved Sonic and Janine and set out to finish our Jotonian conquest. We then went to like the Pokeathlon tournament or whatever and did what Pokemon were really made to do. After that, we dawdled around, got the stones needed to evolve Mecha into Victory Bell and McCloud into Ninetales, caught Ivy the Tangela, and then boxed Willis and Mecha for Prancer and Slicer X, who we finally let evolve into Kabutops. I then get indecisive who's going to make it onto the battle scene against Janine, and so after a lot of switching around, I settle on Slicer X, Prancer, Flora, Mecha, and Janine, and newcomer, Squidward the Tentacruel. Here's the team. The items. Silk Scarf for Stomp. None. Yeah, I should probably put an item on that. Miracle Seed, Wide Lens, Choice Specs, Never Melt Ice, Wick Claw, or a Metronome. Probably a Metronome. Yes, you heard that right. We gave Venomoth and Metronome. But in all seriousness, yeah, we got Choice Specs. And right before the battle, we also get Choice Scarf, but we get that much later. This was great because Tentacruel outspeeds Dragonair, allowing us to handle 3/5 of her team with ease. And so, we face off against Claire and our 2 Intimidators clash. We use our separate strategies in Dragon Rage for fixed damage and Confuse Ray for status. We disarm it with a T-Bolt, we trade some blows, but I could smell a heal incoming, so Squidward comes out for their debut and with the power of Choice Specs, ruins her Twin Snakes. We then reap value on Kingdra and get super lucky with a crit Ice Beam. We reap some more value and then go to Flora, who barely survives to set up Light Screen, so Slicer could get some much needed damage out, but it wasn't enough. We send out Mecha and he takes it out with Vine Whip, winning us the final Johto badge. We had quite a few losses so far, but with a solid selection of Pokemon in the Allies box alone, I was confident for the league. But my chat stopped me from being too hasty, as after giving some very specific answers to some strange old men alone in a hut, we got our hands on a very special Dratini, who I dubbed Aurora. And with that, it was time to make our way to the final challenge before Kanto. And I wanted to dedicate this fight to 4 Pokemon: Willis, Shenron, Pollen, and Ragnar. 4 Pokemon who I had failed with my playstyle, and I had realized why they were gone. I always could have played better, but time and time again, I over-relied on their abilities and foregoed using new encounters so as not to waste them. But the truth is, using those encounters would have meant they had died instead of my closer teammates, and maybe even none of them would have died because of a more well-rounded team. It was a hard lesson I had to learn, and one that had costed me far too much. So I decided to start using more encounters. No more thugging it out with 3 members and being like, nah, they're solid. No! An ally left behind is better than a teammate left to rot.
Let him cook.
After all, we were a good chunk through Saga 4, and once we hit Saga 5, we wouldn't even need to worry about saving encounters with the sheer volume and deck selection. And so we set off.
Spizzles!
What?
Spizzle.
Who are you, bruh?
To complete the main story, Spizzle!
No! No, I don't want to! I don't wanna!
You don't have a choice, Spizzle! Spizzles, you're the main character, Spizzles!
No! Okay, I've been traveling for hours, but I'm finally here. Let's just catch the legendary, and not you guys. Interesting. Yo. Oh, what? They have like an actual cutscene? That's cool. We're just playing, guys. Waste of time. Alright. Can I leave now? Like, that's it? We go back to the center, switch Squidward for Sonic, and finally make our way to the league. Stomp. Golbat's out next. Thunderbolt. Predicted. Read like a book. Like a brochure. Oh, and I misclicked. GG's. Sorry, Prancer. Sorry, guys. Misclicked. Oh, well. GG. Bye, Prancer. He did his part. He did his part. I'm not too mad about it. Prancer, like, Ambipom is better. Ambipom is better than Stantler, in my honest opinion, so I'm not too upset about it. Hell yeah, we got that. Mean look, I'm trapped. Elbozo, one shot. Definitely KO'd here. Oh, reflect? I missed? Okay, here, let's save that. Hell yeah. We handled that. It may have cost us Prancer, but we were at least at the gates. And we had quite a few options to choose from. Adding on to our Fire, Water, Grass core, so happy to finally have one by the way, we add Janine back to the team because despite low stats, her typing and move pool allows her to match up well into 3 of the Elite 4 members. I then go around trying to find more encounters for our team. An Ursaring, a Krabby, Chinchou, bingo. This was perfect. Even though it was another water type, I really felt the need for some more defense, and it matched well against some threats I was really worried about, such as Lance's Gyarados. To me, Gyarados is either a completely free KO or a terrifying threat that changes your entire strategy, and that all depends on whether you have an electric type. Furthermore, I knew Lantern had access to the abilities Volt Absorb and Water Absorb, and even after chat told me the latter doesn't come until Gen 5 as a hidden ability, I was elated knowing we were completely immune to electric type attacks. Raises the likelihood of meeting wild Pokemon. Why would I want that? You're trash. We're gonna use it. It's just, oh my god. And finally, I added Inosuke the Swinub. Now, you may be wondering why I didn't use more allies, and the answer is simple. I gotta let them cook. They're good, but not only would that have caused even more type repetition, the synergy just wasn't there. Furthermore, their move pools didn't reach peak power until after the Elite Four, so it was best we stuck to some newer squad members. We evolved Inosuke into Piloswine, Ripjaw into Lantern, and then Inosuke again into Mamoswine. I'm not going to go over every change I made and why as we did it, so after leveling, changing movesets, and strategizing, this was the S-tier team I came up with and why. Although move pools are set to face the entire Elite Four, I have the luxury of having enough items at disposal to switch them out between battles. So the idea here was Fire Stab was good into quite a few Pokemon, and with Nasty Plot, it could outspeed a lot of Pokemon and just sweep with Dark Pulse or Flamethrower. And of course Will-O-Wisp just to wall certain sweepers. Pasho Berry this battle was specifically to match up against Slowbro and as to give McCloud better odds at sweeping. The moveset here is pretty self-explanatory. I could have gone Thunderbolt, and Signal Beam was for both Will and Karen. Specs just gives it the extra oomph it needs in missing stats. Not much to explain. Doesn't get Psychic till a few levels later, and I stupidly let my chat vote on which bug type move it got, and the far worse option won. Another self-explanatory. Big damage, Choice Scarf allows it to keep momentum and not take too many hits during its rampage. It stacks very well into multiple members. Almost purely defensive, screen's good, enough said. Best moveset I could get, Rock Slide not available yet. Metronome buildup is goated, and with our team explained, let's hop right into Will. We lead with McLeod, and after nasty plotting and taking a Psychic, we OHKO Zatu and flinch Slowbro, taking it out next turn. I then make the mistake of using Dark Pulse on Jinx instead of my Stab Flamethrower, allowing Jinx to survive the hit and put us to sleep. Me and Will both heal our Pokemon. We then sweep the rest of his team no problem. McLeod soloed. We then make some minor tweaks to the team, most importantly assigning the Spec to McLeod and Scarf to Ripjaw when we begin the battle. I sweep his first two Pokemon before deciding to switch to Inosuke, who dodges a Toxic. Muck goes down with EQ, and with a little bit of sauce, Venomoth also goes down. Crobat's out last, and Inosuke handles it with Never Melt Ice boosted Ice Fang. I was really worried about this next battle, as our only real coverage was Psybeam Venomoth, who isn't even a Psychic type. Bruno and Karen were the two members who would definitely pose us the biggest threat from a type matchup perspective. So I fine-tuned my items so Janine had Specs, since it was already outsped by Bruno's team. Ripjaw got Scarf in order to keep up, since although it was bulky, it would need to be able to actually output damage to be useful, and I was going to give a fighting type nullifying berry to Slicer X, but unfortunately we never got any, so I was stuck with Metronome. Quick Claw went to Inosuke, and Wide Lens went to McLeod for Will-O-Wisp. It's Dr. Bust Down versus Janine, and even a Choice Spec Psybeam is enough for OHKO. We switch into Flora as Dig does little damage, and we set Reflect and spam Magical Leaf until KO. Hitmonlee comes out and charges us down with a Blaze Kick, but I remember McLeod has Flash Fire and pivot him in. But Mr. Lee fakes us out and uses Focus Energy instead. I then miss my Wide Lens Will-O-Wisp as Hitmonlee lands Swagger. I go into Ripjaw, and Hitmonlee's High Jump Kick does way too much damage, and so I'm starting to get tight on options, so I switch to Flora, who takes big damage from a cartoonish level kick. But with Flora low on HP, he finally goes for Blaze Kick, allowing me to safely switch into McLeod, only raising the power of my attacks. However, I miss Will-O-Wisp again. At this point, I just take the risk in Flamethrower, but it's not enough to KO, and Hitmonlee also gets us into KO range. I pray for a missed attack as I use my healing item, but we get put right back where we started. However, now that we weren't confused, it allowed us to at least secure the KO. Onyx is next and gives us some much needed opportunity to let my team rest, and Slicer X finally comes out, KOing Onyx, and baiting Thunder Punch into Mamoswine. Quick Claw allows us to get Hitmonchan to red with EQ and KO next turn with a crit Ice Shard. Finally, Ace Machamp comes out. And if you've watched Spizzlelock, you know how disgustingly powerful this Pokemon is on either side. Take a risk of Rock Slide as I switch to Janine, but we get hit with Reversal. Janine musters all of her Psychic energy into a powerful Spec Psybeam, but Machamp clashes with the super effective blow, munches on a Citrus Berry, bringing him almost back to full, and then one-shots Janine, killing her instantly. I decide to send out Inosuke, hoping he's in Earthquake KO range, but in his rampage, Machamp clings onto consciousness and delivers a killing cross-chop blow to Inosuke as well. Kabutops hits the field, and it looks like we fell for Bruno's trap. He heals, with our Waterfall doing only about a quarter HP. The situation is looking dire. 2 dead, and Slicer X knows if he switches out, whoever lands will die. And then what? Who will we go to next? Our only saving grace was hoping Metronome would give us enough damage multiplier to KO, but it was looking extremely unlikely. With no other choice, we crashed into Machamp full force, and landed a critical hit, winning the battle. Despite me being glad we didn't wipe, this was a horrible position. Forget Kanto and Red, we might not even make it out of the league, as we had to beat Karen and Lance with 4 Pokemon max. We were officially outnumbered, and to make matters worse, we lost Mamoswine, of all members, meaning we missed out on Ancient Power and Stab, Ice Fang, and Ice Shard, turning the would-be manageable Lance into an uphill struggle. And that's only if we made it to Lance with 4 Pokemon. With that in mind, we had to focus on what was right in front of us and challenge Karen. We level up and replace Bubble Beam for Aqua Ring, trying to make the most out of bulk, and Slicer X was the better water attacker anyway. I give Slicer X Specs, Scarf to McLeod, Metronome to Ripjaw, and Quick Claw to Flora. We lead with Flora against her Umbreon. Since we were outnumbered, we really needed all the defense we could get. From there, it was a battle of stall. We kept setting Reflect and healing with Synthesis and popping off Magical Leaves, getting around Umbreon's double teams. Karen used a full restore on our weary Meganium and then switched out to Murkrow perfectly on the turn we set Reflect. This was our opening. We clap Murkrow with Ice Beam and go right back to Flora for Vileplume. After healing and setting Light Screen, McLeod hits the field and through Paralysis KOs Vileplume. Gengar's next and we land Dark Pulse while Gengar then uses Spite. Due to Paralysis, Gengar outspeeds us and uses Destiny Bond. Break through Paralysis and KO. Taking down Gengar, and killing McCloud in the process. Our Fire Water Grass trio was broken. We had 3 Pokemon left to beat the league. It was unlikely, but it was possible. We send out Slicer X for Houndoom. It sets up a game-ending nasty plot, but Slicer X handles it in a single hit. Her last Pokemon comes out, and it's a familiar face in Umbreon. We trade some blows, getting a lucky flinch and winning the battle. 3 Pokemon: Lantern, Meganium, and Kabutops. These 3 had to take down Lance in a 3 versus 5 and win. Specs went to Ripjaw. Although we were giving Gyarados a free turn, we needed to OHKO, which Scarf would not give us, and after Gyarados went down, we needed power over speed. Quick Claw went to Meganium for possible outspeeds. Scarf, of course, went to Slicer X. This was risky, as we were limiting both of our offensive Pokemon to 1 move per switch-in, but we had no choice. Knowing this may be the end of Spizzalock, I had a talk with the main man himself. This could be the end of Spizzalock today, but I will try my absolute hardest to make sure we make it through the other end. Slicer X, it's been an honor working with you. We one-shot Gyarados and then go to Flora. She then sacrifices herself in order to set up a light screen so her friends have a shot at survival. As without that screen, the damage output would simply be too high. With Dragonite confused, Slicer's Scarf ready, and light screen fresh on the field, we spam Ice Beam until Ace Dragonite falls, and another comes out. We one-shot, light screen fades, and Dragonite 3 is out, and he paralyzes us. But with what was on the line, Slicer X pushed through, and one-shots anyway. We switch into Ripjaw, who handles a Thunderfang. We get hit with big damage on Rock Slide next turn, but dish out a Discharge, paralyzing Aerodactyl. I use my 1 healing item to cure Slicer X's paralysis. This may seem like a bad play considering my low HP Lantern, but remember, Slicer X always comes first. Also, with Choice Scarf, I knew he could finish off Aerodactyl and Charizard on his own uninterrupted, but I can't say the same for Lantern here. We KO next turn, and Charizard comes out, and a burning question comes to mind. Now the question is, do we try and save Ripjaw? Full heal Rip, yeah, I know. But do we try and save Ripjaw? We take a big risk switching out to Slicer X, who clashes against the Shadow Claw. We then get flinched twice in a row on Air Slash and put on the ropes before finally landing Waterfall. I try to go for an Aqua Jet, but Scarf blocks me. If we flinch again, it's over. We won! We go to the Hall of Fame and showcase our Pokemon, only 2 of which survived. I was really bummed because pretty much all of these Pokemon looked really interesting and were quite useful. And I was sad that we would never get juniors or seconds of these Pokemon. I've been really wanting to start building more members that last across generations and start having 3rds, 4ths, and even 5ths again. But anyway, we beat the Johto League, and with that, our journey is halfway over. Okay, let's pick up the pace. Kanto's a breeze, but our team just got wiped for the millionth time, and god damn it, I still have 2 water types. Sonic, Mecha, let's go. Lobotomy, you too. All we need is a King's Rock, and boom, 3 water types. Add Aurora to the team and evolve her into Dragonair. Did I mention she has extreme speed? This is about to be a W run. Alright, Surge is first. Choice Scarf, Leaf Blade into Raichu. Get Para but KO anyway. Go to Sonic for Electrode, and we're about to slap some balls together. Swords Dance, Defense Curl against Light Screen Double Team. Get lucky for the KO, and KO the next Pokemon despite paralysis. And do huge damage to Magneton. KO next turn from full HP and sweeps the battle for the badge. After a quick training arc, we situate some movesets and get Aurora to become Dragonite and then go for Sabrina. I go for the strategy of a brute force Choice Scarf KO with Slicer X, and baiting an Energy Ball from Alakazam, I switch to Lobotomy, who I equipped with a Rindo Berry. Pairing that with Slowking's Bulk, it did surprisingly little damage, allowing us to set up Amnesia while it sets Reflect. From there, I just set up a special defense and heal myself until I'm in an unpenetrable wall, KOing Alakazam after setting max Amnesia. Mr. Mime falls, winning us the next badge. Erica's up next, and I get trapped in her maze. And so I Gamer Rage and take that personally, taking my Pseudo-Legend Flying type to the Grass Gym. As we set up double D-Dance, jump left sets Sun, Seed, and spins out of combat and pushes Tangela to the brunt of my fury. Side note, the fact that this is a Gen 4 Johto remake and they still didn't give her Tangrowth is crazy. Anyway, after that, Dragon Rush sweeps her team with no issue. Janine, I plan to sacrifice Sonic here as it literally had no point in being on my team. Couldn't even get it ground stabbed, and Surge was the only thing it actually helped with. We defense curl, roll out Crobat, Weezing, and Ariados for the KO. I switched to Lobotomy and Oko Venomoth with Psychic. One more Psychic and the battle is won, and Sonic didn't have to die. Now, if you're an observant viewer, you'll notice I was way over leveled for that battle, and the reasoning is simple. Johto leveling is ass. You see, this is the order the game funnels you into completing the gyms, but this is how they would be weakest to strongest. It doesn't make any sense. So, since I was just following a walkthrough and talking with chat, I was just cooked. I'm sorry. It's been like a year since I played the Gen 2 games. You can't blame me for not remembering. At the end of the day, call me for cheats all you want. This isn't like a Pokemon Challenges or Small Ant video. This is my series! These battles just aren't difficult at all, as we've seen in the previous legs, and are really just filler before Red. But I still do them as legit as I can for you guys, since I still want there to be a challenge, so, you know. Me and Chad all agreed on that the true level cap is trying to stay on a good pace for Blue, and, you know, not surpass his level. But, yeah. We replace Sonic for Squidward and push onwards. On to Misty, we Aqua Ring and Para, going for a defensive play. KO with a couple discharges. Mecha handles Quagsire, and Lobotomy almost handles Lapras after a lengthy exchange, but she switches out. Slicer X gets frozen and walled by Starmie, but Ripjaw clutches up. Unfortunately, Misty heals Lapras, allowing this water dino to start doing colossal damage to my team with its bulk holding it in place. We end up being put in a horrible decision of Lapras full restoring after Tentacruel being put to sleep, and just absolutely dogs him. GG Squidward. W Pokemon L Spizzle usage. Mecha goes for a triumphant Leaf Blade finisher, but Lapras clings on and shatters Mecha after an Ice Beam. Overleveled and losing, we outspeed with Ripjaw and win the badge. Sonic's back on, and joining us is Boston the Weezing. In order to progress through the game, I needed to get past Queso. But in waking him from his slumber, he challenged me to an eating competition. Being on the cut, I of course declined and tried to catch the Beast of Waffle House, but he used Block, trapping us. With his attacks doing major damage and us hitting like a wet napkin, it basically rendered Slack Off useless, and I couldn't run or switch. So all I could do was throw Ultra Balls, hoping I could catch this ocean of obesity. But he ate the Ultra Balls! He then ate my Slowking entirely and said, "Light snack." I caught him. Super gluing 15 Ultra Balls together, I managed to finally, barely catch him. And then I boxed him, never to be used again. Great use of Slowking, I know. Replacing him though was Ivy the Tangrowth, who we forget to add to our team for the Rock type gym. Jeez. Anyways, Brock. Graveler and Rhyhorn go down to a waterfall each, but his Kabutops Giga Drained us, doing huge damage. We go to Aurora for D-Dance, but he counters that too. So we go to Boston, who does good damage and poisons. Ripjaw tries her hand and almost succeeds, but a flinch ruins our chances. It forces us to switch into Sonic for a sacrifice, so we could heal Slicer X. Brock heals his own Kabutops, so I go to Boston and try to squeeze out an explosion, but Kabutops outspeeds this time around and KOs us first. I then realize our ticket out of this garbage. By using Roost, I not only heal, but drop my flying type, allowing Aurora to soak up more damage and set Dragon Dances, giving us the power and speed needed to sweep Brock for our 6th badge. Not adding Ivy to the team cost us a Pokemon, but with Fire Gym coming up, adding her to the team would probably cost us a Pokemon, so we just ball into Blaine's Volcano and just ruin his day with Slicer X. Now, of course, we were going to need 6 Pokemon from here on out, as there were only 2 big battles left, and we had to lock in to avoid any other unneeded deaths, so I add Jack the Ambipom to the team. I'd wanted to add Jack for a while now, almost all game, but I couldn't waste his potential by possibly letting him faint, as before he was just a mediocre normal type Big Whoop. But now, he had the moves Nasty Plot, Agility, and Baton Pass. Only issue? We had nobody to utilize Nasty Plot. But hey, Agility's cool, and things always change on my team, as you can clearly see. Hopping straight into battle, because yeesh, this video is getting long, we try and Dragon Rush till KO, but Exeggutor sets Trick Room and puts us to sleep. It ends up ruining Aurora, so we go to our slower Ripjaw and KO with a 4-time Signal Beam. Rhydon's out, so we eat an EQ with Ivy, and we use our Tentacle Monster to violate Rhydon. Slicer X comes out for Arcanine, getting the KO, but is heavily damaged in the process. Machamp is out next, and is our biggest threat, stopping us from winning. We pivot into Sonic, who catches the Thunder Punch, and we use our one healing item on Aurora. I then learn Blue's Machamp is no guard, and absolutely guts our Hedgehog with Dynamic Punch. Sonic goes for a final stand slash, but ultimately gets obliterated. However, Sonic actually hangs on to get one final slash off before finally falling to Earthquake. You may have been a terrible Pokemon, Sonic, but you certainly tried. Aurora revenge KOs Machamp, and we got to Jack to try and set up some shenanigans. We survive an Ice Fang, and Gyarados sets D-Dance while we set Agility, keeping speed control. We baton pass to Ripjaw, who eats a Waterfall. I Thunder Wave, but Gyarados goes for a surprise return, killing Ripjaw. Aurora comes out, and with little trouble, wins us our final badge. Damn, I've lost more Pokemon than last episode. And that's saying something. The next tournament I hold is going to be a lot more diverse. Oh yeah, the final battle. There were quite a few options to choose for my final 2 team slots, and the ones I settled on, well, neither of them were in the backup box. After a lot of headbutting different new areas, I acquired Hera the Heracross and Goose the Natu, who we of course evolved into Xatu. The reason for these picks were simple. Heracross was for Red's Snorlax, and since I didn't want to rely on sheer power to break that level of bulk, as well as a backup for Lapras since it could hit super effective damage on Ivy and ruin our strats with Goose. Speaking of Goose, we needed him because he actually used special attack, meaning he paired perfect with Jack, allowing us to set Nasty Plot and Agility to turn its 2 best stats from good not great to great not busted. Began making the long journey to Red, and I had some time to think about how things would be different now. I learned a valuable lesson on how the Nuzlocke should be played, and how my playstyle ultimately led to the demise of Pokemon so good, it still makes me cringe. But things would be different. I'm sure I'll sometimes make stupid plays, but gone were the days I would simply say, fuck it, we ball, with 3 Pokemon on the squadron just because of the stats. Speaking of stats, here's the team. Hera, with Muscle Band, Swarm, Mega Horn, Close Combat, Brick Break, and Swords Dance. Jack, with Focus Sash, Pickup, Baton Pass, Agility, Return, and Nasty Plot. Goose, with Leftovers, Synchronize, Wish, Psychic, Future Sight, and Guard Swap. Ivy, with Quick Claw, Chlorophyll, Tickle, Swords Dance, Poison Jab, and Power Whip. Aurora, with Lumberry, Inner Focus, Extreme Speed, Dragon Dance, Outrage, and Roost. And Slicer X the 13th, the lone survivor, with Choice Scarf, Battle Armor, Rock Climb, Waterfall, Ice Beam, and Rock Slide. I approached Red, and it was time to put my new resolve to the test. I begin the battle and hold my breath. Hail begins to fall as our battle commences, making things a little more dicey. Pikachu makes use of its Light Ball to do huge resisted damage on my bulky Tangrowth as she sets Swords Dance. We survive another T-Bolt at very low HP and one-shot with a Giga Shit Power Whip. Hail almost takes us out before Charizard even hits the field, so I knew it was time to switch. Slicer X sharpens its claws and charges forward, getting knocked back by a Flare Blitz, but OHKOing next turn with a Rock Slide. Aurora takes Giga Drain and then sets up D-Dance followed by a Roost. We get one more D-Dance off before Sleep Powder gets a hold of us. We pop our Lumberry and take our basically Swords Dance Agility Dragonite and body Venusaur with Outrage, as well as Lapras and Snorlax, leaving Red already with a single Pokemon left, Blastoise. However, with confusion setting in and our Lumberry already consumed, it was our cue to switch. But the question was, to who? Looking at HP and Blastoise's move pool, Ivy, Slicer X, and Jack were all no's, but could Hera switch in and take out Blastoise? With Hail? I wasn't certain since this was Hera's debut battle, but I definitely wasn't confident, and Goose wasn't much use without proper setup, so I decided to make the tough choice to sacrifice Ivy, who gets hit by a Blizzard. This gives us the safe switching we needed to Jack, is what I would say if I was confident in Jack's bulk. Maybe it was the better play looking back to take the risk and try, but comparing Blastoise's stats to Jack's horrid bulk paired with that 70% Focus Blast, I took a calculated risk for future runs and sent out an unset up Goose, but I had a backup plan. I had taught my Xatu Guard Swap, a move that swaps your defensive stats with your opponent's, meaning I'd be giving my Xatu base 100 and 105 total defensive stats and shrinking my enemy Blastoise to 70 points in each defensive stat at the same time. Somehow though, Blastoise outspeeds me. If someone in the comments could help me out with this, I'd really appreciate it because Xatu is much faster and Guard Swap, to my knowledge, does not have a lower priority. I don't know. All I know is I was ruined as my Xatu was almost one shot. But luckily, I still had my healing item. I full restored and now have enough bulk, along with enough power, paired with Wish, Future Sight, and Psychic to easily handle the rest of the battle. throw at Hera, and with no time to set up, do a huge damage Mega Horn. Hera absolutely brushes off a Blizzard and close combat since we predict a heal. Red heals again, and we repeat the process. Due to us outspeeding, we take the risk and close combat one more time and secure victory, ending the leg with 4 survivors. I had a lot of fun this leg, and I'm glad to be back. Hoping this is a good year for me, and I hope for all of you as well. Until we meet again.